I'm Supermoon Tarot, and in today's video, we are going to be finding out who is your next love. Before we get into that, I wanted to take a moment to say thank you so much for the patience and support. I did not plan to take a break, but I would say unexpected, but I don't think spiritual awakenings are ever planned. And this one came out of left field. And I know spiritual awakenings normally are portrayed as very sweet and loving and serene and this high vibrational thing. But in fact, they are incredibly intense to go through. Very emotional, a lot of things you didn't know were going to be dug up, come to the surface. You're going to feel a lot of sorts while you're going through this sort of adjustment. But the positive thing is once you go through that adjustment, you were left with some really interesting and positive side effects and enhancements. And I would definitely say mine are unusual and welcomed. And I love it. And it was worth going through all that. But I was not my best self because I was going through that. And I care very deeply about this and my readings, and if I'm not my best self, I can't bring my best readings. So I'm in a better place now, as you can probably feel and hear, and I'm ready again. So thank you again for, waiting on that transition. Actually, please let me know. I'm genuinely really curious. Have any of you guys gone through a spiritual awakening? What was that like? What did you experience? What did you find out? I would genuinely love to start a conversation about it, and I'd actually love to do a video about it if you're interested, so let me know. Also, one last thing. Somebody said, contacted me and said that in my videos I come across as very quiet, like the audio is too silent. I usually keep the microphone away from me because I thought it was too loud. So let me know because when you export stuff, the audio changes, and I'm just let me know, can you hear this? Is this too loud, too quiet? Let me know what's going on so I can put the mic in the best place. Anyways, going back to the reading. As you can see in front of us, we have 5 groups. I want you to pick the group you resonate with most. I'm going to give you a moment to do so. Now that you've done that, we can go on to the reading, which I'm very excited about. It's been such a long time. Anyways, let's get, you can go down in the description to your designated group and mark timestamp, but let's get started with group number 1. Group number 1, let's find out who is your next love by looking at the cards. We have 10 of Cups upright, 3 of Swords upright, 10 of Cups again in reverse. Okay, this is definitely something. I don't know what it is, but it's something. We have Page of Pentacles in reverse, 8 of Cups upright, and the Hermit in reverse. Okay, I just want to pull some more cards because I want to make absolutely and totally sure that the situation going on over here is, I want to be specific. Is this something that happens to them or something that they do to other people? So I want to be clear about that. Okay, this super vague and redundant. Okay, yeah. So I had a feeling with these cards going on over here that this is like the confirmation that that this is done to them. But Spirit wants me to pull more cards, which is interesting because I feel like we already get what's going. Ooh, okay. Okay. So now I got context. Okay, well, cool. Thank you, Spirit. So anyways, over here is pretty much says so much about them. They are definitely someone that I would categorize as a family person. If they aren't already close to their family, they would like to be close to their family, and they generally seek that within a relationship. So that means that in the long term they want to get married, they want to have kids. They're the type of person that wants to feel the sense of like unity and trust and loyalty within like a bond. So you can definitely see them exhibiting that with friend groups or whatever. But they also, as much as they are like a family person, they love love. They are the type of like right now they are searching for you. They are searching for their special someone. They want to find it, express it, show it off. It's just, they're a true romantic at heart. But here's the thing: they view this desire, this ideal form of a relationship, as black or white, all or nothing. So either, when you both are on the same page and they have that sort of connection with somebody else, they're all in. They're giving them their full attention. Again, all the traits I named before, like loyalty and trust. Or if there's any sort of like, they're not quite sure about that person, or something feels off, or it doesn't feel like there's a true connection there, that's it. They're cut off. They don't want to talk to you again. They're done. They don't want to waste their time. This is so much of their goal, which is kind of, that's why I wanted to pull some more cards, because sometimes that can be a negative thing, because now, to be fair, this is not the case with them. I just want to point this out. But sometimes if let's say they misunderstood you, and they thought you did something you didn't, or misunderstood something you said, I kind of got the vibe initially that they would be the type of person to just cut you off and be like, we're done, I'm moving on to the next thing. And that seems like kind of extreme. This isn't the case. So they have a tendency, it's actually kind of cute, to fall in love very quickly. So when they feel that connection with you, definitely expect them to be extremely forward. They're going to not, there's not going to be any mystery that they like you. They're going to go out of their way to contact you, text you in the morning, good morning, how are you doing? They want to know how you're doing. They fall in love hard and fast. It is a whirlwind, which is awesome. But this, I can see over here in the Wheel of Fortune card, this is something, it's like a habit, it's a cycle they do. And this, unfortunately, has really burned them in the past, because they just tend to go off like, oh my goodness, I feel this connection, let's just go. There's never been anything before or after type of sensation when they fall in love. It has led them to being interested in people that maybe weren't the best for them. But because they had already, it's actually called, I think it's called the halo effect, if I'm correct. It's actually a psychological thing. When you meet someone, your first impression of them is how you hold them to that standard afterwards. So even though they treat you badly, or they're not the person you thought they were, you're still holding on to what you initially thought or saw in them or whatever. So they'll hold on to a terrible relationship for a little while, and it's just kind of unfortunately led them to being burned quite often. They're definitely someone who's been cheated on a couple times. So it's something you want to be aware of, that they have that in their past. But here's the thing that's really cool and interesting. It looks like they are not someone that's going to take that out on you. It's definitely something that's taught them a valuable lesson, but let me explain. So, wait. Yeah. Okay. So sorry. Just want to make sure I'm sorry. It's been a little while. Give me a second to come back. I can see over here over here and here. This is the shift and change they've made, because they're like, I don't want to be burned anymore, but I also don't want to take it out on my future partner. So I can see over here with the Four of Swords, this is this card always pops up when you were overworked, but it specifically pops up when the universe goes, oh, you're not going to take a break? I'm going to make you take a break. It's like getting sick at an inconvenient time kind of thing. So they keep falling in love and having this idea of what they want, and that's great that they want it, but then what happens is they get really badly wrecked by people, because they're still not slowing down and making those choices kind of like out of intelligence. They're just letting their emotions lead too strongly, because they're such an emotional person. And basically the universe has been throwing them people to try to like teach them a lesson and be like, wake up, you need to be a little more decisive, you need to like be a little more patient, you need to be aware of, if somebody isn't treating you wisely, hey, maybe that isn't the person for you. That's great you fall in love quickly, but like be aware. You know what I mean? This is where we get our journey going on here, and we find them finding emotional stability and more of a, how do I say this? With the Queen of Cups, this is somebody who is going with the ups and downs. So they're not changing that they're a very emotional person. They just understand that they are and they're okay with it. So, like, could they get cheated on again? Yeah, and they're open to it and accepting that, okay, and then they're aware, oh, that's not the person for them. They don't take it as hard. They're like they handle it better and learn from it and kind of go with the flow. So they haven't closed themselves off at all. They're just better at being able to read people and know when to step out of the situation and not think that if they step away from the situation, it somehow makes them a failure in finding the sense of connection and family oriented goal they want for themselves. You know what I'm saying? So when we talk about a journey, we've got that repeated twice over here with Eight of Cups. Page of Pentacles in reverse talks about how they were like aware that their belief system and like the core of what they wanted out of a relationship wasn't working. It's like, it's again, it's great that they want this, but if you focus too much on the end goal, you're missing the actual way of getting the person in order to get there, if that makes sense. And they were aware of that. They worked on it. They were burnt too many times. And then that led them to, they've learned it, just to be clear. When you meet them, they have, we can see in the Hermit card, they've figured out what they need to figure out. They're in control of their emotions, and they're going to come to you as a wiser, more intelligent person. So this connection is going to be really intense and emotional for them. You're going to be basically like, especially with the Wheel of Fortune card over here, you're basically like their karma present. You know, this is a bit of a soulmate connection, I will be honest with you. But it's something where it's like they did the, when we talk about spiritual awakenings, they did the work and you're now the present for that work. You're somebody who's genuinely going to treat them well. You're going to have this genuine connection, and they're really going to be proud of themselves that they approach the relationship in a different way. Don't be surprised if maybe it's not as fast as it was in the past. Like, don't get jealous when you get deeper in the relationship and you hear that the relationships were quicker and maybe seemed a little more romantic, harder in the beginning compared to how yours are. It's not going to be slower. It's just like they're trying to not repeat the same mistakes. So they're going to be proud of themselves that they don't repeat the same mistakes. They're going to be proud that they didn't cut themselves off emotionally. They're going to be excited that it led them to someone who was worthwhile. So that way you can kind of like better understand how the relationship comes together and where they're coming from and blah, blah, blah. So anyways, if you enjoyed this reading, please consider giving the video a like, comment, and subscribe. It helps out the channel like you would not believe. Either way, have a lovely day. I will see you in the next one. And let's get ready for group number 2. Group number 2. Let's find out who is your next love by looking at the cards. We have Temperance upright, 4 of Cups upright, 3 of Pentacles upright, Knight of Pentacles upright, 7 of Cups upright, and 6 of Pentacles in reverse. Okay, I can tell you're definitely going to meet them soon. Let me pull some more cards for that. Oh, okay. Well, let's pull these cards up so you can see everything. Okay. So they are currently stuck at home, bored now. That's the biggest reason I can see that you're going to meet soon. They're still staying at home at the moment. They're pretty bored, and they definitely miss work. They're kind of a more, how do I say this? How do I describe their personality? It's like they're a little quiet. They might come across as closed off, but they are not closed off at all. They just are more of a logical, like they think more with their head than their heart. So because they're giving all their focus to, you know, hobbies and intellect, and they like to be mentally stimulated, they might come across as a little, you know, to outsiders, They might seem quieter than they really are, a little more hyper-focused than they really are, and they're not the type of person to gush and over spill their emotions and sweep you off your feet in the conventional kind of sense, if you're thinking like a hardcore like romantic type of sense. No, it doesn't mean they're not romantic at all. And they are, I'll tell you right now, they're very trustworthy, they're very loyal, but they're very matter of fact. That's an important thing to hold on to right here. So because they think in this way, they do really well. I'm being told by Spirit it would be someone who works in a type of field where it'd be pretty high up. They're going to be making a lot of money. I keep being shown things like an engineer, but it doesn't mean it has to be an engineer. It's that mechanical sort of like programming, that type of mindset going on. Anyways, and they love their job. I want to point out they have a great relationship with their coworkers. That's why they enjoy life and they're bored right now. So the thing that's really cool about them as well is even though they're bored, they are not really the type of person. Again, while they might not be hyper emotional in the way we all. Well, I don't want to speak for everyone. Everyone hopes for. They are not because they're not super hyper emotional. Another benefit to them is they are not the type of person to take out their feelings or boredom on other people. They do not project. In fact, they are someone who is a problem solver. So when they don't feel good and they're kind of just like not feeling their best self, they do something about it. So right now they're going through a little bit of an experimental phase, which is really fun. They're trying out different hobbies and interests and seeing what they're into. They're definitely taking a interest in taking care of their body, which is really interesting. It could potentially hint to meditation, I do want to point out, but the biggest thing I'm picking up is just experimenting with their body. But it doesn't feel like they are trying to work out in order to lose weight, or it's like, when you feel bad about yourself and you're like, I just want to get fit and tight and buff. It's not like that. It's like, why not? Let's see how far I can run. Let's see how I am my own living experiment and see how I can grow and change and physically feel the effects. It's like it's almost like a bit of a metaphysical, existential, unusual way of viewing the act of getting fit and healthy, if that makes sense. But here's what's really interesting. Over here, I see that there's somebody who has the potential to have a lot of people romantically be into them. It looks like a lot of people tend to be interested in them. Do not be surprised when you get together if they have a lot of admirers, a lot of people looking at them. You kind of maybe feel uncomfortable if you sense any of their coworkers or friends are into them. But if this is any sort of comfort, they are not aware of this at all. They are not aware of their options. You don't need to then ask the question, well, what if they were aware? Maybe they wouldn't be into me. No, not at all, not at all. They're into you because they want to be. That's all that matters. If they were aware, I don't think it would matter because they're the type of person where they don't want to be with someone until they know they like them. So whether they're aware that other person likes them or not doesn't matter, because until they like them back, nothing's going to happen and no couple's going to form, if that makes sense. So they knew they liked you and they reached out and you're going to let them know you like them back. So that's all that matters to them. So they are somebody who's got a lot of options, romantically speaking, but they seem distracted. The main thing that distracts them is, of course, the type of personality we express. They're very focused. They pay attention to their hobbies and things that mentally stimulate them, and then that kind of leaves other things go unnoticed. They can almost seem a little airheaded in an ironic way, despite their intelligence. But they seem to be somebody who is kind of seems distracted. I couldn't quite get a understanding of what the distraction is, but whatever they're working on, it could be giving to someone. Like when you have a Six of Pentacles situation, it could be being generous to somebody else, like giving a lot of time and attention, like over giving a time and attention, or it could just be paying attention to something too much. But either way, both of these things are not being done for the right reason. Which is really kind of interesting because when we have a Knight of Pentacles situation, not only does it talk about their hardworking and they're patient and they tend to be somebody who does things for the right reason, if that makes sense. So it's a bit of a contradiction here in their life, what they're currently doing. It's like their core self is very authentic, they do things for the greater good, that type of thing, but they seem distracted, and I don't know why they're giving their attention to this thing. I don't know what this thing is, and I tried to find out. The only thing I could find out was the motivation. It looks like it's someone or some sort of activity from the past. This could be, I'm kind of getting pulled in like a bunch of different directions, so I apologize for being so vague, but this could be somebody, maybe like an old family friend or family member who's forcing them to give a lot of their time and attention to something, and they're kind of using the whole nostalgia factor of like, but we know each other, in order to coax them into doing something that they don't really want to do. I don't get the feeling this is an ex, if that's any sort of comfort. You know what I mean? But either way, they are kind of being manipulated to do something that they don't want to do. So the reason why you're being told this basically is this is like your hint to being like, oh, this is the person I'm dating. Okay, got it. This is someone who something more is going to develop here. That's definitely an important clue to point out, because when you are into them, they might seem not, how do I express this? They're not going to be able to best express themselves over text messages, I'll be honest. Definitely try to FaceTime them, be patient, and ask about their actions and what they're interested in. You're going to get more of a personality reading through that. Because they're not going to be the type of person to be like, oh, you're so cute, how are you, you're amazing, and they're not a good flirter, if that makes sense. But that doesn't mean they're still not totally worth knowing and you won't click with them and stuff like that. Everybody comes in different flavors. So anyways, if you enjoyed this reading, please consider giving the video a like, comment, and subscribe. Helps out the channel like you would not believe. Either way, have a lovely day. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And let's get ready for group number 3. Group number 3, let's find out who is your next love by looking at the cards. We have Ace of Swords upright, 6 of Pentacles in reverse, Knight of Wands upright, Judgment upright, 6 of Swords upright, and the World upright. They're kind of going on like a bit of a, so interesting. They're kind of like in the midst of like a hero's journey type thing. Not the traditional major arcana hero's journey, but it feels very like they're given a quest and they're taking it on head on, and they have a goal in mind. It feels very prestigious and intense, but it's not actually as prestigious and intense as you think it is. I mean, I guess I would say emotionally it for sure is, but it's not. I mean, I guess no, it's spiritual. Okay, I'm being pulled all over the place. Apologies. Let's get into this. So, the main thing I'm picking up right now in their life is they are currently taking care of someone. And the way they approach taking care of this other person, and when I say taking care of them, I'm referring to health. They're taking care of somebody who's sick right now. Or, I mean, honestly, the cards are being a little vague. I mean, Spirit's telling me more it's like health issues, but this could totally be somebody who is suffering from some sort of sadness or something like that. You know what I mean? There's like a different way you're uplifting people. Anyways, they are giving themselves selflessly to this other person. And the way they approached it definitely says so much about them. It shows their energy, their good nature, and definitely some things to be aware of, not in a negative way, but in a way to help them, because sometimes really positive traits can actually be disguising problems we need to work on that are affecting other things negatively, like self-worth, and that involves shadow work. So let's talk about that because it's really interesting. So this other person that they, weren't feeling good or whatever, they jumped into it extremely fast. They did not hesitate to be like, they had their own apartment and they didn't even hesitate to be like, hey, I'll move in and take care of you and drive you to all your appointments. It's very much that vibe. They are very extremely selfless and very passionate in general as a person. Like, this comes to being helpful. This comes to approaching someone they're romantically interested in. This comes to hobbies, anything. They are somebody who, once they make their mind up, hold on to your head from whiplash, because they will be, picking up every book and immediately signing up for the courses and accomplish more than any of us ever could in 2 months, compared to like what we could accomplish in like 10 years. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it's very exciting to be around and very honorable, because when they're interested in you, and you're going to get to reap the benefits of that in a multitude of ways. So very exciting, but definitely don't even try to control it. Don't even try to be like, wait, maybe slow down. They're already going to be done. Just let them do their thing. They're successful at it. It's a good thing. It's a fearless quality. But they, in that sense of passion, they are also simultaneously an incredibly generous and selfless person, like we talked about. And mixing the two of those is what I'm mentioning when I talk about the self-worth situation. So when we have a Six of Pentacles in reverse type of situation, this is somebody who doesn't know how to put up a boundary every now and then when they give. They tend to get used, and I'll be honest with you, with these two cards being up, there is a potential, because this is a public, a general reading, there is a chance that this other person is aware of what they're doing and kind of extra milking it and trying to get whatever they can get from this person because of they're aware of their good nature. But Spirit's just like, whenever Spirit's quiet, like, clearly that is not really the case. So I'm not getting that vibe from this particular situation. I think this person genuinely isn't feeling good and they're being passionate and kind. But this is pointing out that when they are loving and giving to you, it does simultaneously kind of speak to their subconscious and say, I have to keep giving because people won't want anything from me unless I give them everything. So while it is done out of truly, they really want to make people feel better or show everything they've got, it slowly adds to a complex that makes them think that they're not good enough. So don't be surprised if you have a late night session where you guys cry and you tell them that they're good enough, and that's exactly what they need to hear. This is something, so if they're like, what do? I didn't even know I didn't feel good about myself kind of thing, that this can kind of like guide them in the right direction to feel like the best version of themselves, which is great. I can tell over here with the Ace of Swords, this is going back to the idea of why I'm saying they can be manipulated by other people, but they're not being manipulated in this situation. The Ace of Swords is basically the positive confirmation of like, nope, they were using the right judgment. This was the right thing to do, blah, blah, blah. Now, this is what I meant by like the hero's journey and all that jazz when we have the Judgment card in the world. Judgment card shows that they were basically being tested by the universe. And this is like a big, like, will you step up to the plate type of situation. And when we get tested by the universe, this is to learn a life lesson. This is to show, are we ready for the next step, the evolution? This is kind of almost like asking, again, this is very questy vibed. It's like, are you good enough to receive the next thing? It's usually positive. It's usually prosperous, but it's like, if you want to be really rich, this is a good example. Can you handle what comes with that? And you're being tested to say like, okay, can you handle this? And if you can, okay, then you get the wealth because you're showing me that you can. So you understand what you're about to sign up for. So sometimes, just to be clear, the universe does not give you these things to mess with you. They are giving you opportunities. Each time these things are happening, these are opportunities, not some sort of bad thing happening. You know what I mean? We can always grow. We can always learn from something. And for them, they are definitely taking this opportunity head on, really benefiting from it, using good judgment, just kind of stepping up to the plate and winning, essentially. And it's been rough for them. I will be honest with you. You're gonna meet them when they're a little bit tired. You're gonna be their definitely salvation of having a bit of a break from how much this has kind of been been, a bit of a bumpy waters along the way as they've been taking care of this person, but they've got their eye on the prize. That's a huge reason why they're so successful in whatever they do. They're not only passionate, but make it happen because they're that type of person to be very focused on the end goal. And they are super goal oriented, like goals as in like they like to receive awards, trophies, confirmations for their success. So when they do something that you really like and you think that was really nice of them, that they took out the trash or they were, they were cute and they set up a little date for you or something, like really let them know, like give them lots of positive, like, this is so amazing, thank you so much, and give them some sort of like even little present to show you appreciate it, because they really benefit from that. They are not the type of person to be money oriented the way some people are when it comes to goals. Like they need the confirmation that they received the present, they spent the money kind of thing. It's more like they need proof that they reached the end of, like there was a thing to do, there's a beginning, middle, and end. In life, there isn't a beginning and middle end, but for them, they need to see these separate things as a beginning, middle, end. It's just how they think, it's what they're comfortable with, and it makes them feel a higher sense of self-esteem when they know, like, oh, I accomplished it and I did it well. So for them, they're definitely looking towards the end of this and thinking, how can I celebrate at the end of this? And if you hear them mention that kind of thing, that's where they're coming from. That's their mentality. They like to compartmentalize. They do better with shorter installments. So I don't want to say it's like an ADHD personality. Not that that would be a bad thing at all, because who doesn't have that? It's more of, I don't know. It's definitely very much a very hyper next thing, but they don't lose focus. They definitely are somebody who finishes what they start. But it happens quickly and abruptly. Or those are the same things, you know what I meant. Anyways, I hope you look forward to meeting such a kind, strong, passionate person. I know you're going to make them feel really good about themselves, and they're going to just spoil you for it. So if you enjoyed this video, please consider giving the video a like, comment, and subscribe. It helps out the channel like you would not believe. Either way, have a lovely day. I will see you in the next one, and let's get ready for group number 4. Group number 4, let's find out who is your next love by looking at the cards. We have Page of Wands in reverse, 10 of Wands in reverse, 2 of Swords in reverse, 6 of Swords upright, 5 of Cups in reverse, and Page of Pentacles upright. Okay, so the main thing I want to know is this is something they're going through. And this is kind of the practical advice being given, the guidance. But the thing is, I want to pull more cards because I don't know if this is something they are working on right now or if this is something they need to do. So we just want to kind of get a vibe of like, where are they at? We know what's the issue. Is it being resolved? So let me just pull some more cards. Just give me a second to shuffle. Fantastic. I know that these seem like really dramatic cards, but these are actually fantastic. Okay, this is something that they are currently resolving. It's a little bit rough right now for them. I have a feeling this is something you guys are going to connect on, but let's get into the whole jazz of it. So we kind of get a vibe of where they're at with the Page of Wands in reverse. This shows us that they are just kind of stuck in life, but they're not stuck because they are bored. They're not stuck because it's the wrong time or they're making the wrong decision. It's like there's this feeling of anticipation or potential, like if they just made that decision to move forward, they could, but something's holding them back. Definitely with the Nine of Swords in reverse popping up over here, we get shown that this is like they suffer from feeling anxious. So it's something that's holding them back. As they're changing and making the positive steps move forward, they suffer from that as well. So it's just something that's like their go-to emotion, as I like to think of it. So that's what was holding them back essentially. It's like they were there, they're good enough, they could, there's the option that, go for it. But they were feeling held back. We get that double confirm. I'll be honest with you, this is like a quadruple confirmation. But over here, when we get the Ten of Wands in reverse is showing us that they really need to stop putting this pressure and expectation on themselves. Stop taking on so much responsibility. Stop thinking that everything has to amount to something. They're not like a perfectionist. They just think that they put too much weight on what could be or what it could mean instead of seeing things as like accomplishments or, each event is as equally important as the next. You know what I mean? Each thing is adding something to your life or teaching you something. You get what I'm saying. And because they're putting all this pressure on themselves, it's kind of the wall in between themselves and moving forward essentially. That's this is where we get a little more like, so over here is where it needs to be worked on, but we get a bit of an understanding of why they're like that. So I understand that a lot of it's motivated from feeling a lot of stress. They put the stress makes everything feel more serious essentially. But we actually get sometimes we have unhealthy habits because it's what we're familiar with. This is a bit about shadow work. This is stuff that we kind of internally don't even realize we're going through. This is like a subconscious issue. But we can see that from over here in the Six of Swords upright and the Two of Swords in reverse, they are very comfortable feeling like they're in rocky waters and stuck and the things are difficult. It's what they're familiar with. It's easier to deal with what's the phrase? It's like the phrase is like the devil you know rather than the devil you don't know or something. It's like sometimes it's difficult for them to make the positive changes they need to in their life, like if they don't like their job or something like that, because it's easier for them to be like, well, I know this. At least I know this about my job. I know how to make this person I don't like happy. It's what I'm familiar with. And they allow that comfort to build more false security in them, and it causes them subconscious tension, because when we feel tension or we feel anxious, our body's trying to let us know that we are not okay, and we're kind of like avoiding that. And so then that causes them to generally think, well, I can't move forward because I'm, feeling stressed. And it's like, well, actually, you're feeling stressed because you're not moving forward. You know what I mean? It's like a catch-22. And honestly, is that not the most relatable thing ever? I'm just, speaking for myself, totally have been there, totally get that. So that's something that's been plaguing them essentially. So we get the confirmation, and I'll go into more detail over here about with the guidance, that it is something they are currently working on, that they are overcoming it, they are moving forward, but it's something that really defines them as a person, that they suffer in this way, this is how they think, this is how they feel, this is something that's been plaguing them, and the journey they're going on, it's who they are. Sometimes people, yes, we're getting personality traits here and we're talking about them, but sometimes people have significant events or habits that define them as a person, and they describe themselves in that way. So this is really great that they're overcoming this. Over in the Five of Cups, they're just kind of, so sorry for bumping the mic. They're making peace with the idea that it is okay that something might not work out. It is okay that in worst case scenario, if it doesn't, pan out, that they're going to be all right. If they can accept the idea of loss, they accept the idea that something might not go well and they'll be okay at the end of it, then there's a sense of like, well, it's maybe not that bad, because if that's the only consequence I'm worried about, you take away that, then who cares anymore? You know what I mean? The other thing is their perspective, and you're going to really enjoy this perspective on them. Keep in mind, this is a new perspective, so they're kind of a rookie at it. Don't be surprised if you detect any underlying stress. They're new at this. They're going to have moments where they either relapse, or you can just tell that they're kind of forcing a new personality trait, which is a good thing. You got to start somewhere. And then new personality trait can be found in the Page of Pentacles. This is showing somebody who is making an effort to change and go about making this plan or action happen. They're putting in the actual work, they're being proactive, but as they're moving forward, they're kind of approaching it in a much more a less serious way, because the less serious they are, the more they're kind of going with the flow and allowing the plan to unfold in the moment to the next moment. They allow enough room for their brain to see signs or opportunities along the way, and they're able to then incorporate that in the plan as they go, because that's the better way of shaping the plan. It doesn't need to be all figured out at once endpoint. It's better to understand and fit like a mold with this thing that needs to evolve with the setting around it, if that makes sense. And so as they're like shaping and molding with it, this more lighthearted approach to life has allowed them to be a lot more open, a little more carefree, understanding that you can they're kind of like the person that's like, oh, I don't know, I'll work out. I don't know, I'll call somebody. And then while somebody else is planning, they call right away, first thing in the morning, they have a plan. This person just so happen to be lucky enough to then get VIP tickets or figure out a better solution because they allowed enough room to think on the matter and let things kind of work out as they were going to work out naturally. So definitely you're not going to experience a super tense, anxious person, but you're going to sense that that is emotion they're still learning to overcome, and it's still, they can relate to it. They're going to get it if you're going through a tough time, or you're socially it's like tough for you or whatever. But over here we get that confirmation. This is the last final thing. Tower card talks about this long-standing issue, again, very defining of them, coming to an end. It shows us over here in this card that while it's ending, it's still very difficult for them. I have a feeling that they're always going to struggle with being an anxious person, and that's okay. But at least they're moving forward and changing their perspective on life and the way they approach it. And last but not least, it looks like they're changing in the nick of time. This was going to be a trait that was going to build up and really bring them down and hurt them in the long run. And because they're making the decision to change and overcome and understand certain things about themselves, they're basically dodging a bullet, essentially. They're really overcoming and avoiding something that could have been horrible. So yay for them, and also yay that you don't have to be brought down by that. So yay! Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this reading. If you did, please consider giving the video a like, comment, subscribe. It helps out the channel like you would not believe. Either way, have a lovely day. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. I'm wishing you the best. And let's get ready for group number 5. Group number 5, let's find out who is your next love by looking at the cards. We have Page of Pentacles upright, 9 of Wands in reverse, Queen of Wands upright, 4 of Wands in reverse, 3 of Pentacles in reverse, and 5 of Pentacles in reverse. I'm going to pull some more cards for this situation going on here because I need a little more explanation. So give me a second. Oh my God. Isn't he so cute? He's so cute. Okay, clear as day. Okay, so this is really interesting because we're going to get a really clear sense of their personality when we see what they're going through right now. So the number one thing popping up is they hate their job. They absolutely hate their job so much And you have to understand of what this job means to them, why it was a disappointment, who caused it to be this way for them, why all of this means anything to you via their personality. One, it's like a way you can basically identify them and be like, oh, they're going through this thing. This is the person. But also because we understand their personality traits when we see the way people react to situations, essentially. So the big thing I see over here is that they just freaking hate everything about their job. Yes, I am seeing one person in particular pop up for the main cause of complaint, but they also don't like their other coworkers. I don't feel like their coworkers are picking on them. I do want to point this out. It just doesn't feel like they vibe with them. So they're with a bunch of people they don't necessarily. It's like they put all their energy into like starting a conversation and trying to be friendly, and they're not getting that in return. So it just feels like everything falls flat. They're talking to a wall. It's super unfulfilling. But they just don't like how things are done at the job. A lot of things like that. Now, for a while, I will point out that they were in that lacking kind of mindset. They were the type of person where every time you talk to them, they just couldn't shut up about how much they hated their job. And they never talked about anything else. And they weren't aware of it, but you couldn't blame them because they loved their job, or they would like to like their job. And we're going to get more into that. They like to do this type of thing, and for it to be a disappointment and not turn out the way they wanted and it not to be meshing, it really messed with them. So it was their main contention. But the cool thing is we can see that they're overcoming that. They actually are, I wouldn't say they're optimistic, it's just they're no longer viewing everything as the worst case scenario or constantly bringing up the things they don't like. The main motivation is because of both the perspective change we can see in the Page of Pentacles, but also them actively trying to find a job somewhere else. And from the Page of Pentacles, we can see that there is an opportunity presenting itself. They haven't quite, it's hard. I don't know. I'm being pulled by spirit, and this is a general reading too. Normally I can say something like definitively, like they're looking for the job or they have the job, but I'm being pulled both ways to be honest with you. So for a group of you who are meeting this person, this is somebody who is, they've got the job, they're waiting to transfer to the job, and for other people, it's like they have a pretty good prospect and they haven't quite been offered it yet, but they're so excited about it, it's pulling them away from their current grief. Now let's understand where they're coming from with the situation and how they got there. So the way they got there was they're the type of person to not make decisions lightly. They really think about it. They contemplate all the pros and cons. So when they make a decision, it's a big deal. In a good way, like, they're making the best possible, oh, sorry about hitting the mic. They're making the best possible decision, essentially. And so they were like, okay, this is what I want to do for a living. This is where I'm going to put my attention. It feels almost like it wasn't something that they grew up. You know how we go to school and we're taught we need to pick what we need to do at a pretty young age. It's like they've rediscovered something they're into. And they wanted to do that. They were like, okay, I'm going to commit. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go for this job. This is the place that I'm going to evolve at and dive deeper into something I haven't before. And we can see in the Page of Wands, they really, gave it their all. They were excited about it. They were okay. Again, Page of Wands is in their confirmation. It's not something they're really familiar with, they don't have a lot of experience doing this job, essentially. But we can see they were really excited about it. They were passionate about it. They came at it with a good attitude and a lot of, when people use the term like lust for life kind of thing. But unfortunately, we can see over here in the Knight of Cups in reverse that it just was a huge disappointment. Things did not work out the way they were hoping to. They had hope for it. They had a dream for it. They had a lot of expectation for it. And it just didn't work out in that kind of way. Not that, just to be clear, they got the job. They don't like what's going on at the job. And I also want to be clear now about kind of the idea of the job and what that means for their personality, and that they're not going to change their love for this work field they're in. They're still interested in the work field. They just picked the wrong place to work at with the wrong people, with the wrong workplace environment. Unfortunately, they didn't know. But they're the type of person, and this is really interesting because everything you can see here is oriented around the workforce being some sort of personality trait or definition of who they are right now and how they react to things. They are definitely somebody who loves to work. It is a huge part of their personality. But what's so interesting here is we're not getting somebody who wants to work because they're money obsessed or they're even career obsessed in the way of how they want to move up in the world. They're never viewing life as what's the next high top position. They like working because they like the act of doing something, performing an activity, bouncing ideas off other people, seeing that activity come to life, the everyday, slice of life, go with the flow, talking to your coworkers at lunch. They like just being in the flow of work. You know what I mean? You know how most of us have a job and we want to earn money and we're thinking of the next thing and they are just all about being there and they want to be in it, enjoy it, live it up. They're social. I'm going to be rambly. I'll stop before I ramble on too much. But you get the general vibe of what they are. So there's like a really sweet, good intention and good-hearted person the way they approach work. So when they went there and the key thing that they needed out of that experience wasn't there, it really bummed them out. But they're the type of person to be like a little bit stubborn and kind of be like, well, I've decided this. Let me see if it's going to get better. I've picked this. I want to, move it to make it better. But unfortunately, we can see over here, we have the Queen of Wands. The Queen of Wands shows us now, many people unanimously say that this is an older female, but I'll be honest with you, I've definitely got this for women that are the same age. So same age, older, something like that. We're talking about somebody who would be a Leo, Aries, or Sagittarius. And this is the type of person who has just really brought them down, picked on them immensely, picked on them so intensely. And they definitely took advantage of their good nature when we have the Nine of Wands in reverse. They're the type of person that, like we talked about, sticks around for things, even if they're bad, because if they can see at the light of the tunnel, if they can believe that there is an end to all of this, they kind of had this mentality that it feels like somebody that in a higher up position than them, this other person, this boss, this manager, whoever they have to deal with, was really bringing them down, and they thought, they're so awful, I'll stick it out, they'll definitely be fired or leave before me. And they weren't. And so they both had to endure each other. And this person took advantage of the fact they knew they were such a loyalist and they'd stick around and kept putting through more and more hell. But then we have Four of Wands, which I love, in reverse. Four of Wands in reverse is a really hopeful, positive sign, just like the Page of Pentacles. This is them suddenly being aware that they have more control over their situation than they are giving themselves credit for. They never lost hope or thought they weren't in control. They just, or thought the world was crashing around them, this is their only way. They just kept riding it out, and suddenly they were like, okay, this isn't going to change. I made the decision to work here. I can make the decision to work somewhere else, essentially. This is somebody who's proactive, who doesn't feel sorry for themselves, somebody who makes an effort. So definitely expect them in a relationship to make an effort, to sense when things are wrong and change them. But they're also the type of person to, when they say, this is what we're going to do, or this is how I want to treat you, or this is what I want to happen, know that they really commit to that, which is really beautiful. And like I said, they love their job. So Page of Pentacles, last thing, definitely expect them to be in a more happier, lighthearted vibe. They're going to definitely feel... You're going to feel like a bit of a heavy vibe around them because they're finally releasing all of this tension and they're excited, but they're new to feeling relieved. So definitely know that if you feel any sort of sensation of ooh, they seem kind of intense a little bit, they're releasing that. They're not going to carry on being that way and feeling so mad at their job. They're new to it, but when we feel these type of emotions for such a long time, even if we're in a better place mentally, we kind of carry that energy around for a little bit. But they're not going to be putting that on you or anything. Just know that it's a temporary thing that's going away. We also can see that they're being more lighthearted. They're kind of going with the flow, seeing how things pop up for them with these opportunities. They're understanding that the way they approached the last job was a little too serious, a little too, this is how it is. And they're understanding that they need to go from one situation to the next to see what's going to make them happiest. And if it doesn't make them happy anymore, that's fine. Go to the next. And don't worry about if the next place they work at only makes them happy for 2 months, and then they need to go to another one. So it's interesting because we're getting kind of a harder personality, somebody who's like kind of a little more stuck in their ways, and they're definitely growing and changing and evolving. And I think that's really difficult and unusual and something that should be rewarded. So yay for them. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this reading. If you did, please consider giving the video a like, comment, and subscribe. It helps out the channel like you would not believe. Either way, have a lovely day. I am wishing the best, and I will see you in the next one.